Hello, let me introduce the next speaker. This is Joan Garcia, Cloud Security Practice Lead for Southern Europe, and he will speak us about, as you see, the adversaries are getting smarter in the cloud. Please, an applause for him.
Thank you very much. Thank you for attending today this session. Thanks as well to Barcelona Security Congress to host me as a presenter. Today we will talk about how adversaries are getting smarter in the cloud, how they are evolving the attack techniques, and what we can do to protect ourselves. But before that, I will just briefly talk a little bit about me. I'm currently leading the cloud security practice for Southern Europe for CrowdStrike. Before that, I'm not that young anymore, so I work for several companies there. So Lacework, cloud security startup, Splunk, CM company, HashiCorp, multi-cloud automation company, and Symantec, Symantec from the old times, a big cybersecurity company. And well, I love any kind of sports, as you can see, pretty much any kind of sports. I don't have enough time to play or to do everything I would love to, but that's me. What we will do is basically, first of all, we will do a little bit of a review of what are the key challenges we are looking right now. After that, we will check what the adversaries are doing, and then we will try to understand what we can do, which techniques, which technologies we can put in place to minimize the effect of the previous two. So what are the challenges that customers are facing today? The first one, I will focus basically on standard challenges. You will say this is not cloud related, but I mean, it's generally, when we talk about security, most of the modern attacks doesn't involve malware anymore. So it's the game change is not about catching a signature of malware and then detecting you are under attack. It changed, it evolved. It includes identities, it includes misconfigurations, adversaries basically are using your own technologies, are using your own products to leverage those products using misconfigurations and then attack into your own platforms. And that data is quite interesting. 75%, so 3 out of 4 attacks are malware-free attacks. So you need to detect behaviors, hardening your configurations, etc., if you want to be okay. The next one is basically the legacy CM approach, like consolidating 200 different sources logs and trying to do correlation rules and trying to generate alerts. This is a strategy that is not catching up with the complexity of the attacks. And probably, I mean, I work for one of those CM companies. Probably those of you that are close to the SOC teams, to the incident response teams, will agree with me that, I mean, more than 90% of the alerts you receive in a SOC are false positives, are things that are not attack related. So this is burning your teams, this is distracting your teams, this is making you put attention on something that is not important when the real attack is happening in another place. So this is another big challenge we are seeing today. And finally, it's well known, but I've never met a CISO who told me confidently, yeah, I have the perfect team, I have enough people in my team, I have all of them skilled, I don't have any issue hiring, retaining people. So it's a very dynamic market. People is changing companies. Hiring is very tough. There is not enough skills in the market to cover the gaps of the companies. So basically, this is also a big challenge that is, especially in new and emerging technologies like cloud, it's even harder to cover those gaps. It's even harder to find a good cloud security specialist and to have enough of them in your team. There is a big gap between the breakout time, 62 minutes in the last year, compared to the ability to detect the intrusions. In the last year, we saw an average of 204 days between the initial access to the detection of the intrusion. So compare 62 minutes with 204 days. That's the big problem. We need to bridge those numbers, because Being breached, I mean, every company will be breached. The problem is, will notice that breach soon enough, will stop that attack soon enough before it becomes impactful to your business. So right now, in the current state, 62 minutes versus 204 days, the answer is quite obvious today. No? Deep diving on the breakout time. This is coming from our global threat report. We release every year a global threat report explaining and summarizing what we have seen in the last year. You know that CrowdStrike is quite famous and well known by our threat intelligence. In fact, CrowdStrike started with the forensics parts and the incident response part. It was the origin of the company many years ago. And basically every year we release this global threat report, and we saw 62 minutes in the breakout time. Why this is very important? Because it measures the time between the initial access to the lateral movement. And this is critical because usually, not always, but usually, the initial access machine, the point of access of the attack, usually is not the place where you store the data, the place where you will have a big impact. It will be by chance. They will scan you, they will find some vulnerabilities, they will find some leaked credentials. They will have something to access your environment, and after that they need to find where your data is or where your critical applications are. So being able to detect the attack within those 62 minutes, within that breakout time, it's what will guarantee you that the impact of the attacks will be nothing, or at least the least possible. So basically here, it's about speed, it's about automation, it's about understanding the behavior that is going on, and specifically in the cloud, it's even harder. You know how cloud works. Cloud is about automation, cloud is about speed, cloud is about resources being spin up or shut down. So normal and traditional approaches are very, very difficult, and disconnected teams, if you have your cloud team and your security team not working together, it's 62 minutes is extremely short time. So just the time that will take the security team to ask the cloud team, is this normal? You will miss 30 minutes. So you are already late. So the conclusion is endpoint security is not enough anymore. You need more things on top of endpoint security. You have seen like adversaries are getting faster. You have seen like they are using less malware and more valid credentials, misconfigurations, etc. They are comfortable. They are comfortable doing cross-domain attacks, traversing different barriers and different domains. So you need also to be comfortable with cross-domain attacks. We don't have enough resources. We don't have the right team in terms of sizing, usually. Not in terms of skills, but in terms of sizing, or in terms of time to be prepared and time to learn and be up to date. Usually, cybersecurity, I mean, I've listened to this for years and years that cybersecurity is a very fragmented and siloed market. It's going to be consolidated, but here we are, and it's still very fragmented. There are so many point tools, and this is making it even harder. This is also creating complexity in the processes and the time to response. Also, it's difficult to justify to the business the ROI on security tooling if you need to buy 50 different tools. And last but not least, I mean, for example, Microsoft is every year generating more vulnerabilities than the year before. So it's not going down, it's going up. Every year more and more and more vulnerabilities. So this is like the perfect situation for chaos, no? For disaster. But now let's deep dive on the cloud challenges. Why? Because it's the next battleground. Because it's where we have seen that the attacks are growing more than in the rest of the areas. I mean, you all are moving to cloud, so adversaries are following you. And because it's the new technology, they know that the maturity level is lower. The amount of cloud-specific security tooling customers have is lower than in traditional environments, than in on-premise environments, than in monolithic applications. For example, container security. Not everyone has a solid and robust container security practice in their environments. And attackers know it. Adversaries know it. So why to focus in the place where customers are more mature if I can focus in the place where customers are less mature, and it will be easier for me to enter into those accounts. This is also from our global threat report. It has a cloud section, and you can see, like, for the last 2 years, 288% and 110% consecutive growth in cloud-conscious adversaries, cloud-conscious threat actors. What do we mean by cloud-conscious threat actors? It's not that they just by chance attacked a workload that you have in the cloud. No, we don't mean that. We mean that they know how to exploit and how to use the misconfigurations of your cloud environment to start the attack in the cloud, to move themselves to laterally, to hide themselves, and then finally they will attack a server or a container or a database you have in the cloud. But before doing that, they leverage a lot of cloud-specific techniques, and they attack a lot of cloud services to be able to leverage, for example, at the end of the attack chain, a ransomware in the workloads. That's why we mean cloud-conscious attacks. So if you combine those two numbers, it means that there are 8 times, it's a big number, 8 times more cloud-conscious threat actors than 2 years ago. And this led to the following figures: 95% and 75% attack breaches, attack intrusions growth in the last 2 years. Combined, 3.5 times more breaches in the cloud. Why is this happening? Because, I mean, if cybersecurity is siloed, you look in cloud security, they are even more siloed. Cloud is, you can define a lot of things. You can create roles, users. You can give permissions, specific roles for this database, for this other database, for this group of people. So everything is very fragmented. Everything is very automated. I work for HashiCorp, so a lot of companies are using Terraform or other infrastructure as code technologies. This is super powerful to automate, but it has a big risk. If you make a mistake in an infrastructure as code script, maybe you have 3,000 gaps deployed in one click. So, I mean, cloud is more powerful for developers, more powerful for the business, because it allows you to be faster and the time to market of applications be shorter. But for the operations team and for the security team, it brings additional risk, additional silos, additional data. So this is the graphic that is showing you all the cloud attacks we track and split it by cloud-conscious threat actors and cloud unconscious threat actors. So you can see, like 2 years ago, the amount of cloud-specific attacks in the cloud was very little, and most of the attacks in the cloud were like on-prem attacks, but targeting cloud workloads. We are nearly half-half right now, and it's growing faster. So it shows you the importance of having cloud-specific practices and cloud security-specific tooling integrated with the rest of the processes. And also, probably most of you are deploying as well containers technologies, because cloud is not only about infra. Cloud is about cloud-native application architectures. So if you are migrating from monolithic applications to microservices-based applications with containers or serverless functions, things like that, basically, this is our threat intelligence landscape, where we analyze all the detections worldwide that our sensors, I mean, several hundreds of millions of sensors around the world. We anonymize all this data, and we consolidate and summarize this data, and we give it as a dashboard, as a real-time dashboard. Obviously, this is a screenshot from a couple of months ago, but every time I talk to a customer, I show it in real time. And you can see, like, container-specific attacks right now are the Mitre technique #1 detected worldwide. This is huge. #1 Mitre technique detected worldwide. In the last 90 days, 383 million detections. The Mitre technique is called escape to host, because a container is basically containerized. That's why the name comes from. So when you are in a container, you can do little things, you can do little harm. But if you are able to leverage vulnerabilities to move from the container to the host and then move laterally, then the real game starts. And this is basically what attackers are trying to do the most right now worldwide. Why? Again, it's the part of the less mature parts of the companies right now, but also because containers are continuously changing and continuously evolving. CI/CD pipelines are generating new images pretty much. I was going to say every day, but I met customers that are doing 1,000 releases per day. So production is changing 1,000 times every day. So how you track that? You need to put, if your company is deploying containers, you need to put specific attention. This 2024 is the first time that this is happening. Previous years, it was identity-based attack, then denial of service attacks in the endpoints. That was the #1 detections worldwide. This year, for the first time, and it's consistent over the time, it's container-based attack techniques, the #1 detection worldwide. Okay. So this is pretty much showing the challenges, showing the environment. Let's take a look about what adversaries are doing. I present you 3 of them, like Scattered Spider, #1 most wanted. I have it here in my shirt, #1 most wanted, because it's one of the most active threat actors in the cloud and the one that caused one of the biggest impacts in companies, like the MGM Resource, famous one, Caesars one. So it's very, very active. Cosmic Wolf, Cozy Bird, several of them. We are also releasing every year what we call the Cloud Risk Report. So if we look at the 2023, because the 2024 it's still not being released, we can see that talking about cloud-specific attacks, identity is still a big play. 43% of the intrusions in clouds started with valid credentials. So how do you stop a valid credential accessing your environment? You need to understand that the behavior of that credential is not the right one. Because if it's the correct identity with the correct permissions doing something, the only way to stop it is understanding that usually this is an activity that this credential is not doing. Otherwise, there is no more ways to stop that. Also, 67% of the instances, configurations, access management had more permissions than needed. This is also classical in the cloud. It's like you need to go fast, 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 use that role that we created. With that role, it works. Full stop. Use it. Put it into production. But maybe that role has like 40 entitlements more than they need. So if it's breached that role, they will be able to do much more things that they needed. So managing entitlements, understanding if the entitlements of the IAM roles in the cloud or IAM users in the cloud have the specific permissions they need and no more, it's quite important in cloud. Human errors, like 60% of the workloads not correctly configured. We have seen that when you deploy a CSPM tool, Cloud Security Posture Management, you will be like overloaded with thousands of findings, thousands of things that are not correctly configured. And also 28% of the workloads running at root or allowing yourself to elevate to root. So this is, I mean, the perfect recipe for disaster as well. You can see several like Cozy Beard, like Scattered Spider, Labyrinth Colima. So, I mean, a lot of threat actors that in the past were doing on-prem attacks now are leveraging cloud to improve their efficiency on the attacks. I will focus in the Scattered Spider one, but I mean, we could discuss later about others. There are lots of them. We track right now more than 235 threat actors, and it's expanding year over year. When we say that we track is we know who they are, we know which kind of verticals they attack, we know who pay them, we know what they are the motivation, we know what techniques, tactics, procedures they use to breach into the customers, so we can allow you react faster because we can tell you this attack is being done by this threat actor, and after doing this, usually is trying to do this and that, this initial access. So let's focus. Scattered Spider, one of the most prolific threat actors in the cloud. Probably some of you already know them by name. It's a group of youngsters, most of them from the UK and from the US. So it's not always Iran, it's not always Russia, it's not always China. Those guys are living in UK and US. They are about between 18 and 23, 24 years, so they are quite young. They are very skilled, and their main drive is it's basically economical gain, economical profit. They always try to leverage at the end of their attack ransomwares to ask for money. As I said, those two big casino resorts were targeted by them, and it was quite famous, Caesars and MGM's situation. So basically, they leverage very sophisticated attacks. They are experts in social engineering. Later, I will do a deep dive on that. They are very highly skilled on cloud because they realize it's one of the easiest ways to penetrate a customer. They use your own tools, your security tools. They deactivate your tools. They remove your backups. I mean, they know how to use your own tooling to disappear. And finally, in several attacks of them, after doing the forensics, we discovered that, for example, like a PowerShell script they used to retrieve all the Entra IDs users, the structure of the script was like very highly likely generated by IA. So we know them. We know that they are already leveraging generative IA to help them speed all the script designs for the attacks, etc. So, for example, for the initial access, they are experts on, I mean, those guys are not like doing random attacks. They are doing targeted attacks. They use spear phishing. I mean, they analyze you, they understand your company, they research information on your company, they discover what are your company mottos, your company sayings. They create templates of their emails with your own language of your own company, and they are usually targeting in this way, trying to it's not like the hello Mr. whatever and with mistakes in the spelling, or no. It's like very focusing smishing or spear phishing, etc. They are usually when they leak credentials, they are usually they're putting their own MFA in the middle to be able to create security groups where they can use their own MFA to access to your environments. They are also stealing session cookies. It's very common in your environments. They are attacking all the clouds. I mean, they are experts in attacking Azure. I mean, at least the three ones. We track the three ones: Azure, Google, and AWS. They track all of them. They don't have any preference. They typically try to move to on-prem and try to move to basically do two things. One, remove your backups, and second, if they discover you are using virtualization environments like VMware or similars, they target that because they know that the pain they can make you suffer if they encrypt your whole virtualization environment is quite big. Okay. I will show you one real. This is a real example. This is a real attack from Scattered Spider. It all started accessing Azure ID, Azure Active Directory credentials through a smishing campaign with SMS. Basically, when they had that credential, what they did is they listed the full inventory of the AWS cloud to see. I mean, that's the beauty of cloud. You have the right permissions. You do an API call. You get all the information. As simple as that. So they had the full inventory of your cloud resources, and then what they did is they activated AWS System Manager service. Why? You will see it later at the end of the attack. But they activated the service from AWS that allows you to manage the machines and the packages in the machines and deploy software, etc. After doing that, what they did is they created, they created an instance, an EC2 instance, a server, in a new security group, and they attached their own MFA to be able to access that machine in parallel to your normal access. Why they did do that? They that because that way they establish persistence and they can just get to a machine where they can do lateral movement from that machine. After doing that, they created a new access key for one specific IAM user, and then they granted themselves administration privileges. So they escalated privileges. And after doing that, they disabled Guard Duty, the AWS Monitor Sentinel service to monitor the activity in the cloud, and they removed the logs of the CloudTrail. Why they did that? To hide themselves. I did everything I wanted to do. I disabled the service that generates alerts, and I removed the logs so nobody knows what I did until this point. So then they were prepared. They set the scene. Everything they did has nothing to do with your ability to detect attacks in your workloads, in your servers, in your containers, in your laptops, nothing. The full attack was done at the cloud control level. There was nothing to do that like your EDR technology can detect in the server itself, nothing. But the attack is pretty much at 90% stage already, because at that point, they can deploy whatever they want in whatever machine you want in your cloud. So what was the last stage? The last stage was precisely deploying the alpha version of ransomware, the alpha V version from Alpha Spider, another threat actor. They deployed that version of its Alpha Spider is behind one of the most well-known ransomware as a service services that are operating. So they use that version of ransomware, and they use AWS System Manager service to deploy it to all the servers in the cloud in one click. And at that point, started encrypting all the servers. So let's recap. So they did 20 different things that you could detect, and you could stop the attack before the impact is big, before they really stole your data. But nothing of them had to do with with the machines they wanted to attack. All of them had to do with attacking the cloud control plane. So it's identities, cloud, and finally workloads, endpoints. It's basically the three things that every company should be looking at as a whole. Identities, endpoints, and cloud. It should be an integral and single strategy. Otherwise, these kind of complex attacks are impossible to track on time, 62 minutes. So basically, the lesson learned, there is a combination of multiple tools, multiple services, multiple environments, and multiple techniques. It's getting very tough to detect on time. They are using already your own IT, your own credentials, your own services to deploy the attack. And a cross-domain strategy for the attackers require a cross-domain strategy on the defender side. You need to see these three things, these three pillars, identity, endpoints, and cloud as one, as single. Otherwise, it's impossible to meet 62 minutes time. So okay, I painted the cloud, but a very rainy cloud, no? Like not a cloud, a storm. I painted a picture of a big storm. But I mean, what we can do, there are things we can do. It's not only about scaring you. It's just sharing what is happening. It's just sharing the reality. But let's figure out what we can do. So basically, I summarize what we can do in 4 pillars, and it's generic ones. Everyone should think on your own environment, on your own organization, if you are okay or not in one of those 4 pillars, and what should be your next steps. So basically, the first one is assessing your situation. I mean, everything starts with visibility. If you don't know how you are in the cloud, it's impossible that you will put in place a good strategy. So first thing is asking yourself the question, is my cloud secure? Do an assessment. I mean, contact whoever you want, but assess your environment. Have the full detail of where you are, and then understand where you should be, and put a plan in place to be in that place you want to be. The second point, break silos. Silos are given for the attackers. They love silos. They love segregated teams. They love different technologies. One of the customers we met, they had like different EDRs for cloud than for on-prem, different ones for Windows than from Linux, different ones from laptops than from servers. So they had five different EDR technologies in one company. So this is the perfect situation for attackers. But more importantly, break silos to identity and to cloud. Combine all together. So basically, ask yourself the question, can I detect a cross-domain attack? Or how many different tools, how many different platforms my incident response team needs to access to detect one cross-domain attack situation like the one I explained from Scattered Spider. Third one, it's a naming coming from Gartner. It's CNAPP, Cloud Native Application Protection Platform, but call it like you want. Deploy a comprehensive cloud security platform, one that is able to cover everything, from the build time to the runtime, to help cloud builders, developers, when they are building the cloud, when they are developing the applications, help them to understand if what they are developing is secure, enable them with the right tools to, when they are doing CI/CD pipelines, embed security in the CI/CD pipelines, when they are deploying infrastructure as code scripts to generate changes in the cloud, embed security there to understand if that infrastructure that will be created is secure or not. So move left, shift left, be able to cover that all the way until runtime. And when we say runtime, we say all the runtime. Protect your serverless functions. Protect your container environments. Protect your servers in the cloud. Everything together. So a CNAPP, it's Gartner naming, but Forrester call it cloud workload security. Okay, it's different naming, it's the same concept. Deploy one single platform that is able to cover all the different use cases of a cloud security. If just for cloud security, your developers are using 5 tools, and the security team is using 3 tools, and altogether is 8 tools across 2 different teams or 3 different teams, if we put developers, cloud administrators, and security guys, 8 tools, 3 teams, disaster guaranteed. And finally, upskill and extend your team. Hiring or outsourcing, I don't care, but the new world requires new skills. So ask yourself the question, is my incident response team skilled enough in cloud, skilled enough in container security? Ask yourself that question and complete or improve the scope of your incident response team, of your SOC team, to cover all the new workloads. Okay? So I did everything pretty generic. Allow me just the last 3 minutes to explain how CrowdStrike could help on those 4 pillars, how we do it. But again, the important thing is you follow these 4 pillars, ask yourself the questions, and then deploy a strategy, the one you think is the right one. But okay, we can help you in that process. So first of all, is your cloud secure? Do an assessment with us. Do a cloud security assessment with us. Obviously, it's a commercial strategy, it's free. But everything starts with visibility. You will talk to us, we will tell you how your cloud is, and then you will be able to put or not the right strategy in place. Secondly, break silos. This is the mantra of CrowdStrike platform. One single platform, one single console, one single agent. It means one single platform, all the data in the same bucket. The data coming from the endpoint, the laptops, the data coming from the cloud, the data coming from the identity protection, the data coming from the container security, everything together in one single bucket so all the data can be correlated. One console, obviously, to administrate it easy. Administration is a big burden to the team, so if you have one console, it's better than 20 different consoles. And one agent, operation, easiness of operation. If you need to deploy 20 different agents for 20 different use cases, your operations team will not like it. They will not want you to do it, so it needs to make it easy. If the same agent is able to provide identity protection, endpoint protection, cloud protection, it makes life easier for operations, and it allows you to cover everything. Third pillar, deploy a fully integrated CNAPP platform. So cloud security posture management, CSPM, KIEM, cloud infrastructure entitlement management, the permissions, the entitlements, DSPM, data security posture management. Do I have the wrong data in the wrong place exposed to internet or not? CWP, cloud workload protection. I am able to detect attacks. Those escape to host detections, the 383 million attacks in containers we detected in 90 days. I am able to detect that. Do I see what's happening inside the containers? Can I detect this kind of behavior and raise an alert and say, and block that behavior and not allow the attacker to jump into the host and move laterally? ASPM, application security protection, move from the infra to the app, understanding the business context and prioritizing by the business context. So understanding what are the crown jewels of your organization, and be able to protect them and secure them better than the rest, because there is where your private data, PCI data, or whatever data resides that you don't want to be stealed. This is an example. This is a detection of our EDR and how you can do one-click investigate and see the whole map of your cloud. If your incident response team can see the whole map of your team and can see which IAM roles are involved in this attack, how this machine is exposed through internet, how this IAM role can be the bridge to steal data from S3 buckets or to jump to another machines. All this context is what the incident response team needs, and I can tell you 99% of the customers I meet, they are blind on that. I ask the SOC team manager or head of SOC, do you have this visibility? Most of the time they say no. So how are you going to respond to a cloud attack in 62 minutes if you don't see the context of the cloud? If you don't understand that machine that is being breached, where it is, and from that point, which data they can steal. Because on-prem works different. In on-prem, you have a server, a disk, and you see what data they can access from the server. Cloud is different. Cloud is, from that server, I do an API call, and I retrieve the data I want to store. How do you know which S3 buckets you can jump to? Just this, in a big organization, will cost you 2 or 3 hours to build them up. So 2 or 3 hours later, maybe it's too late. Maybe it's already encrypted. And finally, upskill and extend your team. I mean, threat hunting, we can provide threat hunting for cloud, threat hunting for containers. We can provide cloud detection and response 24/7 service. And we can provide incident response for cloud. I mean, we can combine that with your own in-house services. It's your decision whether to hire people or do a hybrid strategy or outsource. But even if you hire people or not, or even if you outsource or not, if you are deploying cloud, if you are deploying container, you need threat hunting for cloud, you need threat hunting for containers, you need cloud detection and response, and you need to be able to do an incident response in the cloud. So either you hire and skill and upskill the people and train the people, or you outsource, but you should do something. So that's all. Thank you very much. If someone has any question, I'm happy to answer it. If not, after the session, I can take questions aside. Okay. Thank you very much.